Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. I am your host, Nash, and we now have 21 weeks to go. So, how was Gameweek 17 for you all? Well, for me, let's see. I decided to gamble with my team, and by that I mean I changed my captain choice from Haaland, which was Salah. I went to Son because I remember saying that Son is a good choice. So I thought, why not back him? So I decided to back him. And boy, did he let me down. On top of that, a different change I made was that I brought in Tavernier into my team. I was looking to make a move with a differential. I was counting on Bournemouth to defeat Luton with Tavernier and Solanke doing the business. If I had more transfers, I would have brought in Senesi, but I was like, no, I'm moving too much. So, having spoken about Bournemouth and Luton, I want to present a theory. I don't know if you've looked at your teams yet, but there seems to be an update glitch of sorts, in that the game week is over, bonuses have been given, but our teams have not been arranged the way they're supposed to. The substitutes have not been brought on. And for many of us, that means Haaland has not yet been substituted. So, I have a theory. When I was looking at the bonus system, when I was looking at Bournemouth Luton, it looked like Solanke would be given the bonus points and some other people. I have Solanke in my team. So when I looked at the bonus points, they hadn't been given. When you look at that match, the bonus points haven't been given. And when I look at my app, it shows that Bournemouth and Luton are still playing. I know it's weird. I think that the algorithm or the system behind fantasy hasn't been built with a system that accommodates an abandoned match, because it's like, okay, the match isn't over, but it's not continuing. Do we allocate bonus? Is it fair? Well, I don't know if they account into fairness, but this game is still going on in the logic of fantasy. Therefore, the game week isn't technically over, and I think they're going to manually override it themselves or create an update or software patch to fix the bug that exists, which they have just now discovered. And so until that happens, because of the Bournemouth-Luton game, our table and our points won't be 100% accurate. So I guess we should just start there with Bournemouth versus Luton. There was a tragedy in the game. Lockyer, who you've had me recommend a few times, not many times, just a few, he collapsed in the game. And it was just around the 60th minute. It was so shocking that it was decided that the game will not continue. And therefore it was abandoned. What isn't quite clear yet is what form of a replay will happen. Since it was 1-1, will they start from 0-0? Or will they just pick up from where they left off, substitute Lockyer, and play the remaining 30 minutes of the game? I can't seem to find that information as of now on Monday early. And something interesting has just crossed my mind, in that if they decide to replay this game, what happens to today's points? Like, for example, I have Solanke and Tavernier. If they decide to replay this game from 0, do our points get deducted in the future? And when they do play, will it be a new double game week? Like, what will happen? Will we just sleep with the points that we got? Wouldn't that be interesting? Now, let's move on, or rather let's move back to Friday night. Or as I would like to call it, the end of my game week. Tottenham 2, Nottingham Forest 0. Richarlison scored. Kululevsky was immense in this game. He was just doing everything. Brennan Johnson got substituted. He's out because of a concussion protocol. I don't know how long he will be out. I think it's maybe, well, it depends. They will test him and they will let us know. So if you have him, watch out for that. He's not the differential that you think he is, although he played well. Somebody else who played well is Richarlison. He's now scored 2 games in a row. He's playing as a striker and he's finding form. So this might be time to jump right into it with him. Except that he's classified as a midfielder. So now it's like, which midfielder do I remove? And that's a problem I'm having now. The midfield this year for fantasy is too stacked. In January, they should just change some of these people into strikers. I was really hopeful for Son. He had a very good early chance, and that was about it. And then when Bissouma got his red card, you just knew Tottenham were not going to be playing gung-ho as they had been earlier. Tottenham seem to be a red card magnet right now. Every other week it seems like Udogie red card, Romero red card, Bissouma red card, he comes back, Bissouma red card again. It's a mess. On the other side, Forest really had Toffolo. Toffolo was their best, I don't know, the best chance of the game fell to him. And it just shows their best players are at the wing right now because Nico Williams was creating everything. He created the most dangerous attacks for them. He was the most threatening player. Him, alongside with Toffolo, and then Elanga. I think even Elanga contributed to the offside goal that they had. And in case you haven't noticed, Kululevsky has now scored and assisted in back-to-back away games. So he might be somebody worth having right now. I spoke about him before, but this clean sheet means that now Pedro Porro has returned in 5 of his last 6 matches, with an assist in 4 and 1 clean sheet. He is somebody I'll be bringing into my team this week. Kululevsky had the assist. Kululevsky had the 3 bonus points as you expect. Pedro Porro had 2 bonus points. Richarlison had 1 bonus point. And Romero had 1 bonus point. Romero also seems to be a good way into the Spurs defense, except he is always in danger of getting a red card. He just seems to be so eager to make tackles. And not the good kind. Just, he lives on the edge. Moving on to Chelsea 2, Sheffield 0. The first half of this game was very boring. Chelsea had a new man in goal, and it was one of 5 changes made to the lineup. Palmer was Chelsea's best player, and he has now scored 6 in 9 games. So, if you don't have him at this point, and playing him, because I had him but I wasn't playing him. So if you don't have him, just get him, put him, close your eyes. Palmer and Gallagher were Chelsea's best players. Sheffield, they tried, but they just didn't have anything going for them. Archer and Hammer were their best players. Sheffield have now lost 27 of 32 games away from home. And this means if you are somehow gambling with Sheffield players, when they're playing away from home, just like Newcastle, don't bank on them to do anything. Palmer got 3 bonus points, Badiashile got 2, Thiago Silva got 2. Nicholas Jackson and Palmer were the goal scorers for Chelsea. Sterling and Palmer were the ones who provided the assists. Man City 2, Crystal Palace 2. This game was just wild. For the longest stretch of the game, I think up to 74 minutes, Man City were on top. They were better. They created the better chances, the most chances. They even had an offside goal. They hit the post. They were the better team. And it's funny because, I don't know if you remember, but the Liverpool Crystal Palace game last week changed when the red card was given to Ayew in the 74th minute and they scored in the 75th minute. It's almost like karma was like, okay, we'll give you something back. In the 76th minute, Mr. Mateta scored a goal out of nowhere, out of nothing. after Grealish and Rico Lewis had opened the scoring for Man City. Grealish has now scored in the last 3 games. And then towards the end of the game, Foden lost the ball at the center of the pitch. And I guess in his angst to make up for it, he got a bit too excited. And by the time the Crystal Palace attack was in the box, he made a rash challenge on Mateta, which earned them a penalty, which Olise scored. And now Olise has returned in 2 of the last 3 games. Man City earned a draw from the jaws of victory. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. These are the kind of the results that tell you that this isn't quite the luck of the champion. This is the kind of season that Man City will just qualify for Europe. I believe, just from watching this game, and this game alone, that this is not their title. Mateta and Olise scored. Like I said, Grealish and Rico Lewis scored. Foden had an assist. Mateta and Schlupp had an assist. Mateta got all the 3 bonus points. And he has returned in the last 2 of 3 game weeks. Olise, the same. He got 2 bonus points. And Grealish and Rico Lewis got a bonus point each. And if you're not keeping up, Man City continue their poor trend of conceding. If you have the defenders, I don't know what you're doing, because they have now only kept a clean sheet in 2 of the last 15 games. 2. Like Sheffield most recently kept a clean sheet. Anywho, speaking of clean sheets, Newcastle 3, Fulham 0. Now, I really expected more from this game. But then this weekend and the red cards. Raul Jimenez, who was in great form, got a very silly red card. Well, it's the one you can kind of understand. He was tackled poorly. The ref didn't do anything. So he low-key, well, I can't even say low-key. He didn't low-key. He retaliated. And he got sent off. And this is a result of direct poor officiating. If they give his call, he's fine. The game goes on and it's more competitive. The first half was 0-0, but Fulham had nothing. Only Iwobi was a spark in that game. They had 10 men. There wasn't much they could do. They tried to counter, but there was really nothing. My boy Trippier wasn't there. As you remember, he is suspended. So in his place, the team just got a clean sheet without him, and now I've got 6.5 on the bench, and I have no clean sheet. Well, I do, from Dubravka, but he was on my bench, 7 points. Fabian Schär and Joelinton both left the game with injuries. So if you have those 2 players, please get them out of your team. Their injuries didn't look like they'll be missing 1 or 2 game weeks. It may be more. Almiron, Byrne, and Miley scored. That was Miley's first goal for Newcastle. He is their youngest ever goal scorer at 17. Do you know who their previous youngest goal scorer was? James Milner, who is now playing for Brighton. Yep, he's been around for that long. I think he's 37 now. So that was probably 20 years ago. or 19, you know. Bruno Guimaraes and Anthony Gordon had the assists for the game. And Anthony Gordon is now continuing his record of either scoring or assisting in every home game of the season. Livramento had the 3 bonus points. Dan Burn had 2 bonus points. Almiron, Bruno Guimaraes, and Kraft, who came on for Schär, all got 1 bonus point. This game isn't a true reflection of Fulham, so don't lose faith in Fulham. With 10 men, it was always going to be tough against a team like Newcastle. Let's follow this up with another clean sheet. Everton 2, Burnley 0. And this is the Sean Dyche Derby. As you know, Sean Dyche managed Burnley for forever, and now he's Everton manager. He came out on top, 2-0. Keane and Onana were the goal scorers, while the assist for one of the goals came from Dwight McNeil. I was so excited when it felt like Everton were going to keep a clean sheet. And then I go look at my team and I see Mikolenko 0. He did not play. So all of us Mikolenko holders were just left wondering what could have been, especially in such a game week. Everton were very dangerous from the outset, especially from the wing position with their crosses and the flank positioning. They just seemed to be open all the time and they created so much danger from there. And that's how they got their early goal through Michael Keane, a former Burnley player. I liked him. I like it when people score against their old teams and are happy about it. Everton were the better team. Burnley are playing better. Amdouni was their best player. They're not making the silly mistakes that they were, which shows to me that they have changed the way they play. However, now they're not being exposed for their football philosophy, but for their lack of experience. Just quality of their players is showing, or rather, the lack of quality of their players is showing. For me, like I told you guys last week, Pickford was my team, and so I was happy with the clean sheet. Onana got the 3 bonus points, Keane got 2, and Patterson got 1. Moving on to the next game. Another clean sheet. Arsenal 2, Brighton 0. Last week I told you about how Brighton had gone 32 consecutive games of scoring at least 1 goal in a game. Well, Arsenal put that to a halt. They are now left to continue their other record of conceding a goal every game of the season. And now this is their 21st game in a row in the Premier League in which they have conceded a goal. So basically, don't invest in Brighton defenders. Gabriel Jesus scored off a flick from the Brighton defender, and he found himself unmarked at the end of the post, and it was 1-0 to the Arsenal. Havertz got their second goal, and he is sneakily a good fantasy candidate. People don't like him, he has a bad reputation, but he's delivering on the pitch. Odegaard has a good reputation. He is at the heart of every move. He has like 100 shots, but he's not scoring, he's not assisting right now. Of course, he will get better, but in the meantime, Havertz is there. I don't like him, but that doesn't mean he's not performing. Brighton, Europe, pretty much same script that we've been talking about the whole season. If anything now, there's a bit of a break before they resume, so maybe they'll get some consistency back, and maybe with a few recoveries here, there'll be a threat before February rolls back. Gabriel Jesus got the 3 bonus points, Zinchenko got 2, and Saliba got 1. 2 fun facts surrounding this game. No team has committed more mistakes leading to an opposition goal than Brighton, which is 5 this season. Honestly, I thought it would be Burnley leading that, but turns out it's Brighton. Now, Kai Havertz has scored 4 goals in his last 7 matches. That is as many as he had in his previous 40 matches. Wow. Moving on. Brentford 1, Aston Villa 2. Aston Villa are in incredible form right now. Lewis Potter gave Brentford the lead. Lewis Potter is playing in the exact position Mbeumo was before he was injured. And it is possible that if you're looking for a way to replace the Mbeumo points, he might be a good gamble. Because he's playing in the same position, he's grabbed a goal now. Who knows, maybe this is the start of something. There was a lot of fire in this game, and Ben Mee got a red card early on in the game, and Kamara got a red card late on in the game. And that situation, thanks to Emi Martinez's, I don't know what to call it, tomfoolery, or just being a bit of a dickhead. He created a lot of chaos towards the end, and there were so many yellow cards. And that's when Kamara got his red card. Moreno, who entered for Lucas Digne, got the equalizing goal. And Watkins got a goal right at the end. And he didn't celebrate, but his celebration caused controversy because he just stared a fan down. And did nothing else. The Brentford fans thought he was taunting them. And that celebration also caused controversy because he's a former Brentford player, in case you didn't know. Kamara and Leon Bailey, had the assists for the game. Watkins 3, Alex Moreno 2, and Luis Potter 1. I saw on the screen that Aston Villa have won 25 games in 2023 and have collected 81 points. They have had a better 2023 than Arsenal have. Only Manchester City are better than them. That is how great they have been in this calendar year. And this was a comeback victory. And now Villa are the third best comeback kids in the Premier League. Liverpool, of course, are number one, who have won 18 points. Coming from a losing position, number 2 is Brighton, and number 3 is Aston Villa. Moving on to West Ham 3, Wolves 0. There were many clean sheets this week. 6 of them. If this keeps up, it's going to become a defenders league. And then we'll start seeing formations of 5-4-1, probably with Haaland at the top. So this game was easy. Paqueta and Kudus had like almost telepathic understanding. It was just Paqueta, through ball to Kudus, Kudus runs, goal. Paqueta, Kudus, goal. And then Bowen stepped in, hit the post, and then got his goal. Off another Paqueta assist. So now, Paqueta had a hat-trick of assists. Kudus had 2 goals, Bowen had a goal. The main players for West Ham performed. For me, I was confused because I thought this game would be more competitive than it was. That Korean guy didn't show up. I've brought him into my team. I feel like a dunce because I removed Palmer. Palmer got 14. Okay, to be fair, that was last week. But you know what I mean. He's not looking like the sure points that he was. I think I've come at the end of his run, but I'm going to give him 2 more games. Isn't it funny that West Ham haven't had a clean sheet since Gameweek 7? And when Areola doesn't play, that's when they get a clean sheet. What does that say? I had given up on him a long time ago, so how do you guys feel? Those of you who have Areola, you looked to hope for a clean sheet, you saw a clean sheet, and then nothing. Cheap is expensive, guys. This is a kind of game, as a Wolves player, you just take the L and just say we'll do better next week. West Ham look to have recovered their form. I think maybe Europa's fixed their woes or something like that. And so Kudus, of course, got the 3 bonus points. Paqueta got 2. Emerson got 1. And the goalkeeper, not Areola, but Fabianski, got 1 bonus point as well. Moving on to the final game of the week. Liverpool 0, Man United 0. I have never been so happy for this result. Like I told you, my game week ended on Friday when Son did nothing. And so I was just like, shit. Liverpool will just demolish these guys again. I think Fernandes being off, and by off I just mean unavailable, really helped the manager make his team. Because he went for 3 defensive midfielders in Amrabat, Mainu, and McTominay. So you could tell that Man United may not have wanted to win this game, but they definitely did not want to lose. And they did not lose. They played hard. They wanted the ball. They did their best to stop Liverpool. Liverpool also could have made better decisions in their attack, but that's neither here nor there. That's football. Isn't it interesting that Man United played well without Rashford starting and without Fernandes starting? And if those 2 started, I promise they would have lost. I mean, they started the 7-0. Liverpool created 27 chances, while Man United created 4. Onana made 8 saves, earning another clean sheet. If you follow the Instagram page as well, you have seen that a lot of fans are very unhappy with Darwin Nunez right now. For those of you who hold him, how are you feeling about him? How many more chances are you willing to give him? Is it time to move on? Is he Liverpool's Rashford? You know, when it's a 0-0 game, the bonus goes to the defense. Trent Alexander had 3, Onana had 2, and Tsimikas had 1. And Trent is on a good run of form. He's very expensive. If you thought Trippier was expensive, 8 is just a joke. So you really have to believe in him to want him. And at his price, he is a great differential. In that nobody wants him, but he's performing. So, yeah. For those of you who have wildcards, this could be one of those things you decide upon. Looking at the performers of the week, starting from the goalkeepers, Onana was a top performing goalkeeper. 10 points he had. Fabianski was number 2 with 8. Number 3 was Dubravka with 7. Raya, Petrovic, Pickford, Becker, Vicario had 6. There were 7 clean sheets, and for those of you who need to replace Areola, Dubravka is a good call. So jump in there. When it comes to defenders, Keane from Everton had 14 points. Burn from Newcastle had 14. Moreno had 10. Trent had 9. Livramento had 9. Zinchenko, Badiashile, Silva, Rico Lewis, Pedro Porro had 8. Saliba, Patterson, Tsimikas, Kraft, Romero, Emerson, Gabriel had 7. Colwill, Disasi, Godfrey, Tarkowski, Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Varane, Evans, Lascelles, Aguerd, White, Shaw had 6. You can see how clean sheets can be very valuable, especially on tough weekends. On a related note, do you guys think that defense is coming back? The game weeks have been high scoring, at least to start the season, but it seems like maybe people are figuring themselves out or figuring their opponents out, and maybe the scoring numbers will go down and it might be more valuable to invest in defense. It may be something to think about, something to watch out about. When it comes to the midfield, Kudus had 16 points. Palmer had 14. Kululevsky had 14. Paqueta had 14. Onana had 11. Lewis Potter, Olise, Almiron, Richarlison had 9. Havertz, Grealish, Bowen, Bruno Guimaraes had 7. Sterling, McNeil, Gordon, Miley had 6. In the striking position, Mateta was top with 12. Jesus and Watkins had 9. Solanke had 6. Our old friend Nicholas Jackson had 6. Adebayo had 5. Mateta is 4.9. Adebayo is 4.8. So in case you need a budget striker, that's where you could go, in case you're trying to figure out how to bring Trent into your team. Now, looking at our league table, we have number 1. Why are you running? Mr. Leon Mortier holds on, but just. He is 4 points ahead of the new number 2, Vic City. Leon got 62 points, and now we have all breached, well, not all, we have breached the 1,000 points barrier in our group. He has 1043. Vic City, who is the weekly leader, he got 70 points, and that got him to leapfrog Sim Nanijua. So Sim Nanijua got 49 points, and so now he has 1027. So now he is 12 points behind Vic City. Don't Bottle It this year is at number 4 He got 10.24, and he's just 3 points behind, goodness gracious me. At number 5, we have Melvin Asakanya, last week's leader. I couldn't get a hold of him, so I didn't manage to do an interview with him. He had 46 points and he's at 980. He is about 44 points behind number 4. There's a bit of a gap there. It needs to be closed. We're going to do our best. At the bottom, we have Melvin Kathrima, who got a measly 18 points. If you look at his team, he had... Okay, sorry. That was not very professional. He has Bruno Fernandes as captain and Haaland as his vice captain. So imagine leaving that as your default. Haaland as the vice captain and not even Salah as your captain. And he has Salah in his team, by the way. But Haaland as a vice captain. It's a mess. It's a mess. So, yeah. So 0-0. And then the rest of the team did nothing. Number 2, or rather number 21, is Mr. Jeremiah Obiri. Now, he has Haaland as captain, as you all know, who didn't play, and his vice captain is Rashford, who got 0, who came on and got a yellow card. Hey, people need to change their teams. So now, what's going to happen is that as we move forward, there's going to be a bottom, and it's going to be led by Jeremiah Obiri and Melvin. If they're going to leave their teams like this, I see a gap forming between them and now the bottom people who are actually trying, because these are bottom people who are not trying. And speaking of bottom people who have been trying, I have to give a shout out to Mr. Thagana. He got 68 points and he's the second highest in our group this week. He got 68 points and that really leapfrogged him to number 17. And he has 821 points. Number 18 is Jibril. He has 20 points, so he might be joining Wakina Jeremiah. And he has 819. Mr. Washira Gitahi has done good. He got 50 points and that's 801. And Tim Kubwa is number 20 with 800. So between Tim Kubwa and Thagana, it's 21 points. Now between Thagana and Mr. 16, who is Kimeu, it's a 46 point gap. So you can see our table is splitting into 4/5 teams, or rather 4 or 5 groups. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. Our weekly leader was Vic City. He got 70 points. Number 2 was Tagana Gatheru, who got 68 points. Number 3 was Mike Wow, who got 66 points. And of course, now I must say that, let me add a caveat. The table hasn't, it hasn't updated. So a lot of people still have people on their bench. So these are not exactly the final points, but the order may not change, but the points may go up. I hope that makes sense. So, well done, guys. The average of the week was 40. So if you got 40 plus, well done. And if you got much higher, like our leader, well done. The highest guy this week got 120 points. They had a really good team. And they used a bench boost. It was a perfect use of a bench boost. However, he lost 32 points. So he really got like 80 something. But his team was perfect. It was a really good team. He really attacked this game week. He was not looking at the bigger picture or anything like that. He was like, no, I want to win this week. On the bench, he had Almiron with 9 points. Byrne with 14. 6 from Solanke, and another 6 from Vicario. Isn't that perfection? That is 20, 29, 35 points on the bench. I got 44 points. His bench was better than my team. Goodness. Sometimes when the fantasy gods love you, they really do. As we look forward to the next game week, it must be said that Man City will not be present. They are going for the Club World Championship, a reward for winning the Champions League. So their match with Brentford has been postponed, which means there'll be a double game week coming up. The game week starts a bit early. It starts on Thursday. And these are those fixtures that can really mess you up. Thursday, guys. Don't forget. Thursday. And it starts off with Crystal Palace versus Brighton. I can tell you for free, Brighton will concede. Crystal Palace have Eze back, Olise is back. Now, I'm sure there'll be minutes restrictions on these guys because they're not yet fully fit, but they should be able to score against Crystal Palace. If you're a gambler, Mateta is your man. He has returned in the last 2 of 3 games. You know Brighton concede. If you need a goal from Crystal Palace, Mateta is your man. It's not more complicated than that. So, of course, Mateta, Eze, well, don't bring Eze right now, but Olise. Olise has also performed in 2 of the last 3 games. I think Brighton are the better team, but their form isn't great right now. I know they will recover, but maybe this game is just one game too soon. So, they will score. I believe both teams will score. For Brighton, they seem to be getting their players back, so maybe Mitoma, maybe Ferguson, Gross, Adingra. No defenders. Aston Villa versus Sheffield. Aston Villa are at home. Need I say more? They've beaten Arsenal and City just recently. They're the favourites. They should win this game. Ollie Watkins, Douglas Luiz, Bailey, McGinn, Moreno, if Dean doesn't come back. Matty Cash, I don't know. I'm done with him. I don't know if you guys are. Basically, use your assets from Aston Villa if you have them. Also, Watkins might be a really good captain candidate this week. Since Man City are not playing, you don't have that pressure of Haaland. And Arsenal are playing Liverpool. So that may not be a game where you want to have a captain from that team. Especially given the recent draw. Maybe Liverpool won't be beating these high-profile teams anymore. I don't see a reason why you would want to have a Sheffield player in this game. But if you have to have one or two, you really are looking at maybe Archer, Hammer, McBurney. That's about it. And maybe McAtee. West Ham versus Man United. This will be a good game. West Ham have been successful at home of late. They've won 7 games in a row. Man United will be looking to build upon them not losing to Liverpool. They do not respect West Ham as much as they do Liverpool, so they will not be playing that 3-man defensive mid. Fernandes will be back, so a rotation of sorts will come, and that may make them more open, but also better attacking. You lose when you gain. Ten Hag has realized that all he needs is hard workers. And as long as he continues to do this, it'll be harder and harder for people like Rashford to enter the team. And Garnacho will keep playing. And maybe Fernandes may find that his position is not as secure as he thought it was. It would be brave of Ten Hag not to continue with Fernandes now that he's available, but it would also be a move in the right direction in a way, and he brings him off the bench. At this point, it's hard to tell who is the right player to have in Man U. It seems like if you bet on their defense, you're doing the right thing. And with that, maybe Johnny Evans, Varane, Luke Shaw, Dalot is suspended, so whoever comes in there, and Onana. For West Ham, we've gone over this. It's Paqueta, Kudus, Bowen, and James Ward-Prowse if you have to. Fulham versus Burnley. Now, in this game, I'm expecting Burnley to be demolished, which means they probably won't be. But I expect Fulham to be favourites and to continue the recent form. Raul Jimenez is missing, so it means Vinicius will probably play. But I still think that they will be attacking and free flowing and will be providing a threat. And if Burnley continue making mistakes, it will be a tough day and a long day for them. On the Burnley side, only Amdouni is worth recommending for me. For Fulham, of course, you have Willian, I would say Vinicius, Iwobi, Mr. Wilson, who else? They could overread Pereira, Robinson at the left back position. And if you have Leno, stay with him. This could be a clean sheet. Luton versus Newcastle. This game really depends on how Luton recover from the loss of their captain. He's going to be out for a while now. Are they psychologically ready? Have they been talked to? Will they be up for the challenge? They have been very competitive of late. They have not been easy to beat, and they have always had a goal in them. They have scored in 10 of their last 12 games. Newcastle should be favourites, but they also have missing players, and it also depends on how they adjust to that as well. They have their own challenges. It's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain their gameplay without their players. Also, they're not good when they play away from home. So, will this be something that they will be able to overcome? Luton is going to be perfect for that test. Gordon remains number one for me. And whoever you have as their defender, if you have Trippier, keep him. If you have Burn, keep him. Shah is out, so do not bring him in. Joelinton is out, so do not bring him in. So maybe wait for the presser and see who's available in case you're looking to bring people into your team. Nottingham Forest versus Bournemouth. These are two teams at a similar level who have different forms and different fates. Iraola is on the up and Cooper is going down. Cooper needs this victory more than Iraola. What will he be willing to do to get this victory, because he will see it as a winnable game? Iraola just needs to wait for them to make their mistakes, to pressure, to rush into what they're going to do. If Bournemouth win this game, I think it'll be 2-3-0. It might even be more. It has all the signs of a high-scoring game for me. If you're a Bournemouth guy, you have Senesi is a good guy to have right now. If you're looking into the defense, Solanke, Tavernier, Semenyo, Billing. These are the guys I'd recommend from Bournemouth. For Nottingham Forest, you have Elanga, Tofolo, Nico Williams, or Ola Aina, whoever's playing on the wing, or Aurier. Maybe Gibbs White, but that's really about it. They're not in good form right now. They're really missing Awoniyi. Spurs versus Everton. This is going to be a tough game. I may just hold out on bringing Pedro Porro. Everton have had 3 clean sheets in a row now. They're very solid at the back. So I may change my captain from Son to somebody else, just because I don't think Everton will be easy to break down. Although, the last time I said that Man United just came and trounced them 3-0. So, just choose what you want to do. Kululevsky is looking good. Richarlison is looking good. Son is always the main guy, but he scores only in big games, it seems. Porro is somebody who is worth getting into. From Everton, it's the usual suspects. You have Mikolenko, Doucouré, Pickford, maybe Dwight McNeil, maybe Tarkowski, and really that's about it. That's where most of the action will come from. You have Liverpool versus Arsenal. This is a kind of game now which I can sort of see 0-0. However, Arsenal are a tough team to break down. So I can easily see this as a low-scoring game and with a draw as a possible outcome. Havertz might be interesting for you guys here, but also I wouldn't buy into this game. It's too difficult to call, and it might just end up 0-0. So Trent, anyone? Simicas? And your favorite defender from each team? I could see this game going 1-0 either way. I would also recommend you to just stay with your people. The final game of the day would be Chelsea versus Wolves. Chelsea are such a wild card that it's so hard to predict what they will do. Wolves are definitely an organized team, so I can see them causing trouble. Chelsea have the better players, and they have more players that are better than the Wolves do. However, if they're not organized, that doesn't mean anything. And that's really where the chance for Wolves comes in. Exploiting their lack of cohesion, exploiting their youth, their inexperience, hoping Thiago Silva makes many mistakes, hoping that Cunha's pace disrupts a lot of what Chelsea are trying to do, especially on defense. Cunha, the Korean guy, maybe Bellegarde, are really the strongest options for Wolves right now. And of course Sarabia, he has been good. For Chelsea, number 1 is called Palmer. Gallagher has been good of late, but it doesn't show anywhere, so don't get him. Nicholas Jackson is a differential at this point. If you want to gamble with him, I wouldn't hold that against you. In the last game, their defenders got all the bonus points outside Palmer, so maybe those might be people you want to look into. With Chelsea, just pick your poison. Hope the poison you choose starts, and then hope for a good performance. And this is going to be the trickiest period of December, because right after that you'll have the Boxing Day games, and so it'll be 24th, and then Christmas, and then games galore. I'm not sure I'll be able to record a pod in between, but I will do my best. Keep up the good work. Take it 1 week at a time, or rather 1 game week at a time, because now these game weeks are super tight. We will not speak until maybe just around Christmas. So just in case we do not speak until after Christmas, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. Remember, game week starts on Thursday. Alright, bye-bye.